Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial about creating a web application using the Go language and the Chi router. My name is Andres and I'm going to guide you through this tutorial. So, in today's video we're going to be talking about deploying our application. Why do this early in the application development cycle is because it's in less complex state. So anything that can and most likely will be go wrong on the deployment process will happen now, and it will be easier to debug and see what's causing the issues. So I like to deploy early and often. So with that being said, let's look at where we left behind from last week. So here, if we see our project structure, on the root directory we have our configuration files, our air.toml make file, and our Go package related files. The build directory is where everything when we run make build will be saved so we can run the application, and the temp is managed by air. So in the CMD directory we have our API and our main.go, and on our internal folder we have our server package, and we have the server application where we started a new Chi router and have a single route when we're going to be displaying hello world using air. Okay, so with that being said, let's go to the terminal and initialize a Git repo so we can push this project to GitHub and then deploy from there in Railway. So first we need to create that Git repo. So for that, Git init. With the Git initialized, I'm going to be using lazy Git, and as we discussed, the build directory is generated when we run the make build command. So I'm going to add this to the git ignore by pressing I and I again. The TMP is used by air, so I'm going to ignore this as well. All the other files I'm going to push to GitHub, so I'm going to press A. Now I'm going to add all those files to the staging area, and now I'm going to press C to write my commit message. So here I'm going to say this is going to be the initial commit, and I like to give it sometimes a description when the commit message is not that descriptive. I like to extend myself on the description a little bit more. So here I'm going to say this is a initialize the application using the Chi router, and if we go back to our web browser, I'm going to go to the Chi router colon Chi and go Chi, and we're going to go to the get started. So we go to the documentation, and I'm going to copy this URL, command C, and I'm going to paste it here. This way we have just some documentation on where we added this library from and all that stuff. So I'm going to press enter, and now it's committed everything. So now we need to create that GitHub repo we talked about. So I'm going to go GitHub repo create, I'm going to push an existing local repository. I'm going to call the current directory, so that's dot. Give it a to-do name as the project name. Going to push it to my GitHub account. And I always like to give a description so I can later know what the project is about. So I'm going to say tutorial creating a web application using Go and the Qi router. It's going to be public, and I will make sure that I'll link to this repo and the description so you can follow along. And I'm going to add a remote. It's going to be origin, and I'm going to push all the commits. Now let's go back to Railway and let's start a new project. I'm going to deploy from GitHub, and here we have our to-do application, and I'm going to deploy now. So it's creating the project, create an environment, and let's see and it started to build. Okay, perfect. It's building the image, and let's see what happens now. And it failed, so we can go and see the logs and see why it failed. And here we have all the things that Railway logs when building. So if we look on the logs, we can see here that we have no Go files in the application. This is because, as you recall, we have our main.go is on the API folder, CMD API folder. So we need to run this make build command. So let's go back to Railway and let's tell Railway that build from using that command. So in the to-do application, we go to settings and go here to the build, and on the build command, we're going to tell Railway to run make build. Okay, and let's deploy again, and let's see what happens now. So it's going to start building the image. All the process, the initialization is correct. It's start building the image. Let's give it a second to see what's going to happen. It can take a little bit until it finishes building. It finished building, now it's deploying. Says deployment successful, but it crashed. Okay, let's look at the logs. So here we cannot go directly to the logs as we did before, but if we press on the title, we come to here and we have the details. That's the details of the application, the build logs, the logs that we were looking last time, where we can see what happened and any logs that we have at deployment when we deployed. And we can see here is .out not such file directory. Let's go back to our code. If you remember, we said that this build command is going to create a build directory and create a to-do file that's going to be our executable. So we need to tell Railway to run that file. Let's go to settings, and on the deploy section we're going to add a start command and say, okay, let's run in the build directory that to do a file. Okay, and let's deploy again. Let's go to the deployments, and it's building the image. So let's give it a little bit time to see what happens. Hopefully everything will be working now. It always takes a little bit to build and deploy and all that good stuff. So let's give it a second. It's deployed, and we have it, and it says active is a successful deployment. Let's go and see the logs, and if we go to the deploy logs, we can see we have our log message when we started our server. Perfect. But now we have to tell Railway to let us to give us an address where we can access this application from. So in the settings, we're going to go to networking, and we're going in the public networking, we're going to generate the domain. It's going to take a little bit, and it gives this domain name. I like to change so it's easier to remember, and I'm going to change this F8AP to ALCB1310. That's my GitHub account. I make sure that's a unique name. And with that, we have here on the top it says to do production. So if we go to that address, we see the message we were returning. So as you can see, we hit some issues. We were able to debug very easily what were the issues, and we were able to fix them. So that's today's tutorial. We're going to continue creating the application next week. So make sure to like and subscribe so you get notified when I publish next episode. Thank you guys.